Enemies trapped him inside a burning building, and death was only seconds away, until a black waitress risked her life to save him. The explosion ripped through the third floor of the Cosmos building at 11:47 p.m., shattering windows across downtown Los Angeles and sending glass raining onto the street below. Inside, Yun Shu-woo felt the heat before he saw the flames, a wall of fire that cut off the only exit from his penthouse office, trapping him with three of his men and the two rival gang members they'd been interrogating. The sprinkler system was dead, the emergency exits sealed from the outside, and Shi-woo knew, with the cold certainty that had kept him alive for 10 years in this business, that someone had planned this perfectly. "Boss, the stairs are completely blocked," his lieutenant, Dai Young, shouted over the roar of flames spreading through the hallway. "Fire escape's been welded shut. They fucking trapped us." Shi-woo moved to the window, his tattooed neck visible above his collar as he assessed their options. 20 stories up, flames spreading fast, smoke already thick enough to taste. The Beck family had finally made their move, and they'd done it smart. Waited until most of his organization was scattered across the city for New Year's preparations, then struck when he was vulnerable. He pulled out his phone. No signal. They were jamming communications. "We're going to die here," one of the Beck soldiers wheezed, blood from his broken nose mixing with soot on his face. "Your war just killed us all." "Shut up," Shi-woo said calmly, his mind already working through impossible odds. The building was owned by a subsidiary of his organization. He knew its layout, its weaknesses. There was a service shaft on the north side, narrow but possibly navigable if they could reach it before the smoke killed them. "Daejung, the maintenance corridor behind the server room. Can we reach it?" "Maybe, if the fire hasn't spread there yet." "Then we move. Now." Shi-woo grabbed a letter opener from his desk, wrapping his shirt around his hand. "Break that window. We need air." As Daejung shattered the glass, cool night air rushed in, feeding the fire behind them but giving them precious seconds to breathe. Shi-woo looked down at the street. Crowds gathering, fire trucks just arriving, their sirens silent but lights flashing red and blue across the chaos. And among the crowd, standing directly below, staring up with an expression of pure horror, was a face he knew. Amara, the waitress from the cafe 3 blocks away. The woman with the bright smile who always brought him extra cream for his coffee without asking. The woman whose laugh he'd memorized over 6 months of daily visits. The woman he'd never spoken to beyond polite morning greetings because men like him didn't drag women like her into their dark worlds. She was looking right at him, and Shi-woo saw the exact moment she recognized him in the window. Saw her face transform from general horror to personal terror. And then she was moving, pushing through the crowd toward the building entrance, and Shi-woo's blood turned to ice. But she was already gone from his sight, swallowed by the crowd, and Shi-woo knew with sick certainty what she was about to do. 45 minutes earlier, Amara Chen had been wiping down tables at the Sunrise Cafe, humming along to the R&B playing through her headphones while the city prepared to celebrate the new year. The late shift was always quiet, just her and the night cook, Marcus, serving the occasional drunk couple or insomniac wanderer. She preferred it this way. Peaceful, predictable, safe. "You heading to Bria's party after close?" Marcus called from the kitchen. "Nah, tired. Plus you know how I feel about New Year's Eve. Amateur night, everyone desperate to prove they're having the best time ever." Amara sprayed cleaner on another table, her dark curls pulled back in a messy bun, her cafe uniform somehow making her look both professional and effortlessly beautiful. At 26, she'd learned that beauty was both currency and trap. People saw her face and made assumptions, never looked deeper. "You're becoming a hermit, girl. When's the last time you went on a date? When's the last time a date didn't turn into some guy thinking I should be grateful for his attention?" Amara shot back. "I'm good on my own, thanks." The door chimed. Amara looked up and felt her pulse quicken the way it always did when he walked in. Yun Shi-woo, the regular who'd been coming in every morning at 6 a.m. for the past 6 months, always alone, always ordering the same thing. Black coffee, extra hot, and whatever pastry she recommended. He was beautiful in a dangerous way. Sharp features, dark eyes that seemed to calculate everything, and that neck tattoo that disappeared beneath his collar, hinting at a story she'd never dare ask about. But tonight he wasn't alone. 3 men accompanied him, all Korean, all wearing expressions that made Amara's instincts scream danger. And Shui-Wu himself looked different. Tension in his shoulders, cold fury in his eyes, blood on his knuckles that he hadn't bothered to hide. "We're closed," Marcus said nervously from the kitchen doorway. "No, we're not," Amara interrupted, meeting Shiwu's eyes. Something passed between them, a silent conversation she didn't fully understand. "It's fine, Marcus. I've got this." Shiwu's expression flickered with something that might have been gratitude or warning. "Just coffee," he said quietly. "We won't be long." Amara poured 4 cups, hands steady despite her racing heart. She'd suspected for months what Shiwu was. You didn't carry yourself like that, didn't have that kind of controlled violence in your eyes without being connected to something dark. But he'd always been polite to her, tipped well, never made her feel unsafe. And maybe that made her stupid or naive. But she'd started looking forward to seeing him each morning. She brought the coffee to their table in the corner booth. Up close, she could see the fresh bruises on Shiwu's face, the way his knuckles were split and swelling. "Rough night?" she asked before she could stop herself. His eyes met hers, and for a moment she saw through the armor to the exhaustion underneath. "Something like that. You need ice for those hands?" "I need a lot of things." His voice was low, meant only for her. Ice isn't high on the list. One of his men, young, early 20s, with a nervous energy that made Amara think of her brother before he'd gotten himself killed in a gang shootout, spoke in rapid Korean. Shiwu responded in the same language, his tone sharp enough to make the younger man flinch. "Is everything okay?" Amara asked. "No." Shiwu's honesty surprised her. "But it will be. Thank you for the coffee, Amara." The use of her name sent warmth through her chest. She'd worn a name tag every day for 6 months, but hearing it in his voice felt different, intimate. "You're welcome. And Shiwu?" She didn't know when she learned his first name, probably from overhearing his men, but using it felt natural. "Whatever trouble you're in, be careful." Something in his expression softened. "I'm always careful." "Liar," she said softly, then walked away before he could respond. They left 20 minutes later, and Amara watched through the window as they climbed into a black SUV. Shiwu paused before getting in, looking back at the cafe, at her, with an expression she couldn't read. Then he was gone, and Amara was left with a bad feeling coiling in her stomach. The explosion happened just as Amara was cashing out her register. The building 3 blocks away, the Cosmos building, sleek and modern and expensive, erupted in flames, and the shockwave rattled the cafe's windows. Marcus ran outside, phone already dialing 911. But Amara stood frozen, staring at the fire, at the 3rd floor where flames were spreading fast. That was Shiwu's building. She'd seen him enter it enough times to know, had watched him disappear into the lobby with his men, conducting whatever dark business kept him out until dawn. And now it was burning, and her body moved before her mind caught up. "Amara, where are you going?" Marcus shouted as she ran past him. "I have to. There's someone." She couldn't explain, couldn't articulate why she was running toward fire instead of away. Just knew that Shiwu was in there, and every instinct screamed that he was in trouble. The street was chaos. People evacuating nearby buildings, firefighters establishing a perimeter, police trying to control the crowd. Amara pushed through them all, her eyes scanning the building's windows until she found him. 3rd floor, north side, breaking a window. Even from this distance, she recognized the set of his shoulders, the way he moved. He was trapped. And when he looked down and their eyes met across the impossible distance, Amara saw his fear. Not for himself. She'd bet her life he wasn't scared for himself, but for her, because somehow he knew what she was about to do. "Ma'am, you need to step back." A firefighter grabbed her arm, but Amara pulled free. "Someone's trapped up there. 3rd floor, north side." "We know. We're doing everything we can, but the building's been sabotaged. Someone sealed the exits, cut the power, jammed the elevators. We can't get inside safely yet." "How long until you can?" 15, 20 minutes to establish? They'll be dead in 10. Amara didn't know how she knew this, but she did. Felt it in her bones. "I'm going in." "Absolutely not. Ma'am, I will arrest you if—" Amara didn't wait to hear the rest. She ducked under the police tape and ran for the building's service entrance, the one she'd seen maintenance workers use when she'd walked this route to her bus stop. The door was ajar, smoke already seeping through, and every rational part of her brain screamed to stop. But Amara Chen had spent her whole life being rational, being careful, playing it safe. And where had it gotten her? A dead brother, a string of failed relationships, a life so small and contained that she sometimes felt like she was already dead. If she was going to die, at least it would be doing something that mattered. She pulled her cafe apron over her nose and mouth and plunged into the smoke. The stairwell was a nightmare. Smoke thick enough to cut, heat that singed her lungs with every breath, and the terrifying sound of fire consuming everything around her. Amara stayed low, remembered half-forgotten lessons from a fire safety assembly in high school, and climbed. First floor, second floor. The smoke got thicker, her eyes streamed tears, her lungs burned. She almost turned back at the landing between second and third, almost gave in to the primal terror screaming at her to run. But then she thought of Shai Wu's eyes meeting hers across the distance, the way he'd looked at her like she was worth protecting, the way her stupid heart had started beating faster every morning when he walked through the cafe door. Third floor. The hallway was an inferno. Amara could see the flames spreading from the east side, consuming everything in their path. But the north corridor, where she'd seen Shiwu break the window, was still navigable. Barely. Shiwu! Her voice came out as a croak, throat already raw from smoke. Yoon Shiwu! A crash from somewhere ahead. Voices shouting in Korean. And then a door burst open and Shiwu appeared, supporting one of his men who was coughing blood. His eyes went wide when he saw her, then blazed with fury. What the fuck are you doing here? He switched to English, voice hoarse but clear. Amara, you need to leave. Now. Not without you. She grabbed his free arm, the one not supporting his injured man. Come on, I know a way out. There is no way out. The exits are sealed. We were heading for the maintenance shaft, but a section of ceiling collapsed behind them, cutting off his words. Jesus Christ. You're going to die here because of me. Then we die together. But I'm betting on us living. Amara pulled him toward the stairwell she'd just climbed. Service stairs, south side. They're still clear. How do you know that? Because I just came up them. She met his eyes, saw the moment he understood what she'd done, saw the terror and awe and something else flash across his face. Now move, unless you want my dramatic rescue to be for nothing. Shiwu's remaining men emerged from the office, Daijung and two others, plus the two Beck soldiers who looked half dead from smoke inhalation. We follow her, Shiwu ordered in Korean, then English. Everyone stays together. No one gets left behind. They moved through the corridor, Amara leading the way with the confidence of someone who'd already survived the journey once. The smoke was worse now, the heat intense enough to blister skin, but she kept moving, kept counting doors until they reached the service entrance. The stairwell was their salvation and their death trap. Clearer than the main building, but narrow, barely wide enough for one person at a time. Go, Amara ordered. Fastest first. Don't wait. Daijung went first, half carrying one of the injured by ex-soldiers. The others followed in a stumbling line. Shiwu grabbed Amara's arm. You're next. I'm last. I know the way. Amara, don't argue with me. I didn't run into a burning building to have you pull rank. She pushed him toward the stairs. Go. I'm right behind you. They descended in a nightmare of smoke and heat and terror. Somewhere above them, something exploded, probably the gas lines rupturing. The building groaned like a dying animal. Amara's legs shook with exhaustion and adrenaline, but she kept moving, kept her hand on Shiwu's back, feeling the muscles flex beneath his shirt, using him as an anchor to reality. Second floor, first floor, and then they were bursting through the service door into the alley, into cold night air that felt like salvation. Firefighters swarmed them immediately, separating them, checking vitals, demanding explanations. Amara found herself on a stretcher, oxygen mask pressed to her face, paramedics shining lights in her eyes and asking questions she couldn't process. Her ears rang. Her throat felt like she'd swallowed glass. Her hands shook uncontrollably. But she was alive. They were all alive. The woman who went in, she heard a firefighter saying to a police officer. She's a civilian? She just ran into a burning building? Apparently, stupid as hell, but she saved 8 lives. Building collapsed 10 minutes after they got out. Amara's eyes found Shiwu across the chaos. He was refusing treatment, arguing with paramedics in a mix of Korean and English, his eyes scanning the scene until they locked on her. The relief in his expression was palpable, devastating. He started toward her, but police intercepted him, asking questions, taking statements, separating witnesses. Their eyes held across the distance for one more moment. Then he was being led away, and Amara was being loaded into an ambulance, and the night swallowed them both whole. The hospital kept Amara overnight for smoke inhalation. Her lungs were singed, her throat raw, and the doctor lectured her extensively about the stupidity of running into burning buildings. She nodded through it all, too exhausted to argue, too overwhelmed to process what she'd done. "You're very lucky," the doctor said. "Another minute in that smoke, and you'd have permanent damage. As it is, you'll need to take it easy for at least a week. No strenuous activity, lots of rest, and if you experience any difficulty breathing, come back immediately." Amara was discharged at 6 a.m., the time Shiwoo usually came to the cafe. The irony wasn't lost on her. Her friend Bria picked her up, eyes wide with a mixture of pride and horror. "Girl, you're all over the news," Bria said as they drove through early morning traffic. "Hero Waitress saves 8 people from burning building. They're calling you the New Year's angel." "That's ridiculous. You ran into a fire, Amara. That's literally the definition of heroic." What were you thinking? What had she been thinking? That Shiwoo needed her, that she couldn't stand the thought of him dying, that for once in her careful, controlled life, she wanted to do something that mattered? "I don't know," she admitted. "I saw him in that window, and I just moved." "Him?" Bria's eyes sharpened. "The guy from the cafe? The hot Korean dude with the tattoos?" "Yeah." "Amara, please tell me you didn't almost die for a customer you've barely spoken to." "Okay, I won't tell you that." "Oh my God!" Bria pulled over, turning to face her fully. "You like him. You actually like him." "I don't know him well enough to like him. But you know him well enough to risk your life for him? Make that make sense." Amara couldn't. Didn't have words for the pull she felt toward Shiwoo. The way 6 months of brief morning interactions had somehow embedded him in her consciousness. The way she'd memorized his coffee order and the scar on his left hand, and the way his eyes softened when she smiled at him. "Just drop me home, please," she said quietly. "I need to sleep for a year." But sleep was impossible. Amara lay in her apartment, staring at the ceiling, replaying the fire, the smoke, the terror, the way Shiwoo had looked at her when she appeared in that hallway, like she was a miracle and a nightmare all at once. Her phone buzzed constantly, messages from friends, interview requests from news outlets, her mother calling in a panic from Atlanta. Amara ignored them all until one message stopped her cold. "Unknown number. This is Daejung, Yoon Shi-woo's associate. He needs to see you. Can you meet him today?" Her heart hammered against her ribs. She should say no, should stay far away from whatever world Shi-woo inhabited, but her fingers were already typing. Where and when? The response came immediately. 2 p.m. The cafe. He'll be alone. Amara arrived at the Sunrise Cafe at 1:45 p.m., her hands shaking as she unlocked the door. The space felt different in afternoon light, less cozy, more exposed. She made herself a cup of tea she didn't drink and waited. Shiwoo arrived exactly at 2 p.m. He looked worse than she'd ever seen him, exhausted, bruises dark on his face, bandages on his hands. But his eyes were clear and intense when they found her across the empty cafe. "Hi," Amara said, "because what else do you say to a man you saved from a fire?" "Hi." Shiwoo stayed by the door, like he was afraid to come closer. "How are you feeling?" "Like I inhaled a campfire." "You?" "Like I can't believe you're real." He moved then, crossing the space between them in 3 strides. Up close, Amara could see the raw emotion in his eyes. Fear, gratitude, anger, something that looked dangerously like devotion. "You could have died. You should have died. Why did you do that? I saw you in that window and I couldn't not try. You don't even know me." "I know enough." Amara met his gaze steadily. "I know you come here every morning at 6 a.m. and order the same thing. I know you tip 50% and always say please and thank you. I know you read the newspaper, but you're really watching the door. I know you have nightmares because sometimes your coffee gets cold while you stare into space. I know you're dangerous, but you've never made me feel unsafe. I know enough. Shiwu's expression cracked. I run a criminal organization, Amara. The Yoon family controls most of the Korean underworld in LA. That fire? Rival gang trying to kill me. And they almost killed you in the process. I figured. You figured? He laughed, the sound harsh. You figured and you ran into a burning building anyway. Yes. Why? Because... Amara stopped. How could she explain something she barely understood herself? Because I'm tired of being scared. Because my whole life I've played it safe and it hasn't protected me from anything. Because when I saw you trapped up there, I realized I'd rather die trying to save you than live knowing I didn't try. That's insane. Probably, but here we are. Shiwu reached out slowly, like she might bolt, and cupped her face with bandaged hands. I can't drag you into my world. I can't put you at risk again. But Amara, I can't stop thinking about you. Haven't been able to for months. And now you've saved my life, and all I want is to spend the rest of mine making that mean something. That sounds like a line. It's the truth. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. I'm falling for you. Have been since the first time you smiled at me and asked if I wanted to try the blueberry scones. And that's dangerous for both of us. Then let's be dangerous together. Amara rose on her toes and kissed him, soft and tentative and absolutely terrifying. Shiwu froze for half a heartbeat, then kissed her back with a hunger that stole her breath. His hands slid into her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss, and Amara felt like she was burning again, but in the best possible way. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Shiwu rested his forehead against hers. This is a bad idea. Most good things are. My enemies will target you. So teach me to protect myself. My family will have opinions about me dating a black woman. And my family will have opinions about me dating a Korean gangster. Guess we'll both have to deal with it. Shiwu pulled back to look at her properly. You're serious. You actually want to try this. I ran into a burning building for you. I think that ship has sailed. Amara smiled, seeing the exact moment he decided to stop fighting it. So yes, I'm serious. Are you? More serious than I've been about anything in years. He kissed her again, softer this time. A promise instead of desperation. But Amara, if we do this, we do it right. You meet my people. Learn my world. Understand what you're getting into. Okay. And you let me protect you. Security, precautions, all of it. Within reason. Amara. Within reason, she repeated firmly. I'm not becoming a prisoner because you're paranoid. It's not paranoia if people actually want to kill you. Then we'll figure it out together. Deal? Shiwu studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Deal. But first you need to know something. The Beck family, the ones who set that fire, they know who you are now, know what you did, and they're going to see you as leverage against me. Amara felt ice slide down her spine, but kept her voice steady. What does that mean? It means you're in danger whether we're together or not. They've already seen us together, already know you matter to me. His jaw clenched, which is why I need to end this. Permanently. And what? The war with the Beck family, one way or another. The next 2 weeks were the strangest of Amara's life. She continued working at the cafe, refused to hide or change her routine. But now there was always someone watching. Daejong at the corner table. Another of Shiwu's men outside in a car. Subtle but constant protection. Shiwu came by every morning, like always. But now he stayed longer. They talked, really talked about everything. He told her about growing up in Seoul, moving to LA at 15 when his father took over the family operations. About the violence he'd witnessed, the choices he'd made, the weight of legacy and expectation. I never wanted this life, he admitted one morning, hands wrapped around his coffee cup. But my father was killed when I was 22, shot in our own home, and someone had to take over or everything he'd built would have been carved up by rivals. So I stepped in. And now you're trapped. Now I'm responsible for hundreds of people who depend on our organization for their livelihoods. For maintaining order in communities the police ignore. It's not all drugs and violence, Amara. We run legitimate businesses, provide protection, help Korean immigrants navigate a system designed to chew them up. Robbing Peter to pay Paul doesn't make you Robin Hood. His smile was sharp. I never claimed to be a hero. That's your role. Amara threw a wadded napkin at him. Stop calling me that. I did what anyone would do. Most people run away from fire, not toward it. His expression turned serious. You saved 8 lives that night, Amara. 3 of my men, 2 Beck soldiers who would have killed me if given the chance. And me. That's not nothing. What happened to the Beck soldiers? We let them go, after they recovered. Shiwu's voice was carefully neutral. Sent a message that the Yun family doesn't kill men who've survived fire together. It's complicated, but it bought us time to negotiate. Negotiate what? A truce, territory divisions, reparations for the building. He paused. And guarantees about your safety. Amara's heart clenched. You're negotiating peace terms that include me? You're non-negotiable. I made that clear. Anyone who touches you answers to me personally. The cold fury in his voice sent shivers down her spine. They understand what that means. It should have scared her, this casual discussion of violence and territory and criminal negotiations. Instead, Amara found herself asking, what does it mean? Shiwu's eyes met hers, dark and absolutely serious. It means I would burn their entire organization to ash. It means I would start a war that would paint the streets red. It means there is no line I wouldn't cross to keep you safe. That's psychotic, obsessive, completely disproportionate? His smile was humorless. Yes, but you ran into a burning building for me, Amara. You set the bar pretty high for grand romantic gestures. She should have been disturbed, should have seen red flags everywhere. But all Amara felt was a fierce warmth spreading through her chest. We're both insane. Probably. He reached across the table, lacing his fingers through hers. But at least we're insane together. The truce meeting happened on neutral ground. A warehouse in the industrial district, empty except for representatives from both families. Shiwu insisted Amara stay far away, but she'd learned enough about his world to know this was the most dangerous moment. When everyone was armed and tense, and one wrong word could shatter fragile peace. She waited at his penthouse, a space she'd been spending more time in lately, learning its contours, making it feel like theirs instead of his. Daejung stayed with her, professional but kind, teaching her basic Korean phrases and explaining the complex hierarchy of the organization. Boss really cares about you, Daejung said as they waited. I've known him 10 years, never seen him like this. Like what? Hopeful. Like he's got something to live for besides duty and revenge. Daejung's expression was earnest. He's been dead inside since his father was killed, going through motions. But you brought him back. By running into a fire. By seeing him. Really seeing him. Not just the position or the power. Daejung smiled. He talks about you constantly. Your laugh, your opinions on coffee preparation, the way you organize sugar packets by color. It's disgusting how smitten he is. Amara laughed despite her nerves. He organizes sugar packets by color too. That's why I started doing it. Oh God, you're both neurotic. Perfect match. The hours crawled. Amara tried to watch TV, read, anything to distract herself. But all she could think about was Shiwu in that warehouse, surrounded by people who wanted him dead, trying to negotiate peace while pretending he wasn't vulnerable. Her phone rang at 10 p.m. Unknown number. Amara's blood turned cold, but she answered. Hello, Ms. Chen. The voice was male, Korean accented, unfamiliar. My name is Baek Sung-ho. I lead the family that tried to kill Yoon Shiwoo. Daejung's head snapped toward her, eyes wide. He mouthed something, probably don't engage, but Amara was already speaking. What do you want? To thank you, actually. You saved my nephews, the 2 soldiers trapped in that fire. They told me about the woman who led them out, who didn't leave anyone behind. A pause. In our world, that kind of honor is rare. I wanted you to know that you have my family's protection, regardless of what happens between you and me. I don't understand. You showed mercy to men who would have killed the man you love. You risked your life for enemies. That transcends our petty wars. His voice carried weight, formality. The Beck family does not forget debts. You saved my blood. I owe you a blood debt in return. I didn't do it for debt. I did it because they were people who needed help, which is exactly why you deserve protection. Ms. Chen, I cannot promise peace between our families, but I can promise that you will never be harmed by Beck hands. You have my word, and my word is law. The line went dead. Amara sat in stunned silence, phone still pressed to her ear. What did he say? Daejung demanded. That I have the Back family's protection, because I saved his nephews. Holy shit. Daejung looked genuinely shocked. Amara, do you understand what that means? You just became untouchable. Both families protecting you. That's unprecedented. I just wanted everyone to get out alive. And somehow you managed to accidentally broker peace through sheer decency. Daejung laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Boss is going to lose his mind. Shiwoo arrived home an hour later, looking exhausted but triumphant. We have a truce, he announced, pulling Amara into his arms. Territory lines redrawn, reparations agreed, and... Baek Sung-ho called me, Amara interrupted. Said I have his family's protection. Shiwoo froze. He what? Blood debt. For saving his nephews. Amara pulled back to see his face. Shiwoo, I didn't try to... You just accidentally made yourself the most protected civilian in LA's underworld. His expression cycled through shock, disbelief, and then pure admiration. Amara, you're incredible. Do you know how many people have tried for years to get the Baek family's protection? And you managed it by running into a fire and refusing to leave anyone behind. So this is good? This is better than good. This means you're safe. Really safe. Both families honor their debts absolutely. He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. You're untouchable now. Does that mean you'll stop being so paranoid about my security? Absolutely not. But now I can sleep at night knowing that even if something happens to me, you're protected. The casual mention of his death sent ice through Amara's veins. Don't talk like that. It's reality in my world, baby. I won't lie to you about that. Shiwoo's hands framed her face gently. But knowing you're safe makes everything else bearable. I don't want to be safe if it means losing you. Then I guess I'll have to stay alive. Can't have you running into any more burning buildings trying to rescue me. Amara kissed him, hard and desperate, trying to pour all her fear and love and determination into the contact. Shiwoo responded immediately, walking her backward toward the bedroom, hands already working at her clothes with focused intensity. They made love with an urgency born of near death and new beginnings. Shiwoo was reverent and desperate, mapping every inch of her skin like he was memorizing scripture. Amara gave herself over completely, no walls, no protection, just raw honesty and need. After, lying tangled together in sheets that cost more than her monthly rent, Amara traced the tattoo on Shiwoo's neck, Korean characters she'd never asked about. What does it say? The phoenix rises from ashes. His voice was rough, satisfied. Got it after my father died. Reminder that we rebuild from destruction. Fitting, considering we literally rose from ashes. Shiwoo laughed, the sound loose and genuine. We really did. You know, if someone had told me 6 months ago that a waitress would run into a burning building and accidentally negotiate peace between rival gangs, I'd have called them insane. And if someone told me I'd fall for a crime boss with a neck tattoo and enemies who set buildings on fire, I'd have laughed in their face. Are you falling for me? Amara propped herself up on one elbow, meeting his eyes seriously. I'm already fallen, Shiwoo. Have been since before the fire. Maybe since the first time you said please when you ordered coffee. Definitely by the time I realized you were reading my name tag to learn how to pronounce Amara correctly in Korean. You noticed that? I notice everything about you. She kissed the tattoo on his neck. Your scar, your tells when you're stressed, the way you sign receipts left-handed but drink coffee with your right. How you always sit facing the door. The fact that you haven't had a full night's sleep since your father died. I sleep now, with you. I know. I hear your breathing change, feel you relax. Amara's fingers traced patterns on his chest. That's how I know this is real. Not just adrenaline or crisis bonding, because you trust me enough to let your guard down. I love you. The words were simple, devastating. I'm in love with you, Amara-chan, and I know it's fast and crazy and probably a terrible idea, but I need you to know. I love you too. Saying it felt like jumping off a cliff and discovering she could fly, which is why I'm not going anywhere, no matter how dangerous things get. Even when you meet my mother and she judges everything about you, even then. Though fair warning, my mother's going to judge everything about you too. She wanted me to date a nice accountant. I have accountants. Does that count? Criminals with spreadsheets are still criminals, baby. Shiwu pulled her back down, kissing her until they were both breathless again. I'm going to marry you someday, he murmured against her lips. Put a ring on your finger that makes every man in LA know you're mine. Possessive much? Completely. You ran into a burning building and saved my life. I'm never letting you go. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. Meeting Shiwu's mother was exactly as terrifying as promised. Park Min-seo was elegant, sharp-eyed, and thoroughly unimpressed by Amara's existence. The lunch at her Hancock Park mansion was an exercise in passive-aggressive Korean hospitality. So you're the waitress, Min-seo said in perfect English, looking Amara up and down like she was evaluating produce. The one who caused all this trouble. I'm Amara, and I didn't cause anything. I just helped. By running into a fire. Very dramatic. Min-seo's expression suggested she found it distasteful. My son says you work at a cafe. Yes, ma'am, the Sunrise Cafe, and I know where it is. I've had it investigated. Min-seo sipped her tea delicately. You have student loans. Your apartment is in a questionable neighborhood. Your mother is a nurse in Atlanta, your father deceased, and your brother was killed in gang violence 3 years ago. The casual recitation of her life's tragedies felt like a slap. Amara felt Shiwu tense beside her, but she squeezed his hand under the table. That's all true. I'm not ashamed of any of it. You should be ashamed of your brother's choices. My brother was 16 and desperate and made stupid decisions. But he's still my brother, and I won't let anyone disrespect his memory. Min-seo's eyebrows rose. You have spirit. That's something, at least. Mom, Shiwu's voice was tight with warning. Amara is important to me. You'll treat her with respect. Or what? You'll stop visiting? Stop running the family business? Min-seo's laugh was brittle. You've already thrown away every suitable match I've arranged. Why should this one be different? Because I love her. Shiwu stood, pulling Amara up with him. And because she saved my life. And because if you can't accept her, you'll lose me. Completely. Is your pride worth that? The silence stretched, tense and fragile. Then Min-seo sighed, suddenly looking older and more tired. Sit down, both of you. They sat. Min-seo studied Amara with new intensity. My husband was killed in our home, shot while eating breakfast. Shiwu found him. Her voice cracked slightly. I've spent 6 years terrified that my son will die the same way, that I'll lose everyone I love to this business. I understand. Do you? Do you understand what it's like to love someone who lives with death? To wonder every day if this is the day the phone rings with bad news? Min-seo's eyes shimmered. And now my son loves you, which means I have to worry about you too. Because if something happens to you, it will destroy him. Amara felt tears prick her own eyes. I'm not going anywhere, Mrs. Park. I promise. You can't promise that. No one can. But Min-seo's expression had softened slightly. But you did run into a burning building for him. That's either very stupid or very devoted. Both, probably. Min-seo almost smiled. Yes, both. She poured more tea, the gesture deliberate. I won't pretend to approve. You're not Korean, not from our world, not what I envisioned for my son. But Shiwu is right. I'd rather have him alive and happy with you than dead having met my expectations. That's the nicest backhanded acceptance I've ever received, Amara said, earning a genuine laugh from Shiwu and a slight thaw in Min-seo's expression. I'm a difficult woman to please. Ask my son. Min-seo's gaze turned sharp again. But Amara, if you're going to be part of this family, you need to understand our world. Learn our language, our customs, our history. Can you do that? Yes, I want to understand. Then we'll start with Korean lessons, Tuesdays and Thursdays, here. It was a command, not an offer. If you're going to love my son, you'll speak his language properly. Amara looked at Shiwu, who was grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Deal, she said, but fair warning, I'm a terrible student. Then you'll fit right into this family. We're all terrible at something. 6 months later, Amara stood in a different building. The New Yoon Foundation headquarters, funded entirely by legitimate businesses Shiwu had been building since the truce. The organization focused on helping Korean immigrants, providing legal services, language classes, and job training. Amara ran the hospitality program, teaching culinary skills and service excellence. You're really good at this, Bria said, watching Amara lead a class of eager students through proper knife techniques. Like scary good. I don't know why you ever waited tables. Because waiting tables paid rent. This is a luxury I couldn't afford before. Before a mafia boss fell in love with you and funded your dreams? Before I fell in love with a man who believes in me, Amara corrected gently. The money helps, but Shiwu would have supported me doing this even if he was broke. You're disgustingly happy. It's offensive. Amara laughed. Sorry, not sorry. You should try it sometime. Dating a reformed criminal? I'm good, thanks. He's not reformed, just more legal. Amara wiped down her station. But yeah, I'm happy. For the first time in maybe ever. That night, Shiwu picked her up from class, as had become their routine. But instead of heading home, he drove to the beach. The same stretch of sand where they'd had their first real date, talking for hours while waves crashed in the background. What are we doing here? Amara asked as he led her down to the water's edge. Remembering. Shiwu pulled her close, both of them standing at the boundary between water and sand. It's been exactly 1 year since the fire, since you ran into a burning building and changed everything. Has it really been a year? 365 days since I thought I was going to die, since you proved that heroes are real. His hands found hers, grounding them both. I want to give you something. He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Amara's heart stopped. Shiwu! It's not what you think. Not yet. He opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace, a phoenix pendant in white gold, wings spread in flight. This is a promise that I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of what you did for me, being the man you deserve. You're already that man. I'm working on it. Every day I'm trying to be better, more legal, more honest, more present. He fastened the necklace around her throat with gentle fingers. And someday soon, when I've built something truly clean, I'm going to ask you properly, with a ring and a speech and everything you deserve. Amara turned in his arms, tears streaming down her face. You could ask me right now and I'd say yes. I know, but I want to earn it first. Want to be a man you can be proud of. I'm already proud of you. She kissed him, tasting salt and love, and futures yet unwritten. You're becoming who you want to be. That's all that matters. They stood there for a long time, wrapped in each other as the sun set over the Pacific, and Amara thought about fate and choice and the impossible chain of events that led to this moment. A fire, a rescue, a love that defied logic and expectation and every rational thought. Thank you, Shiwu whispered into her hair. For what? For running toward the fire instead of away, for seeing me when I was invisible, for loving me when I didn't think I deserved it. Thank you for being worth saving. Amara pulled back to meet his eyes. For building something beautiful from the ashes, for loving me like I'm the only person in the world. You are. My world begins and ends with you. They kissed as waves crashed and seagulls cried, and the world spun on. Two people who'd found each other in fire and built something unbreakable from the flames. 2 years later, the wedding was small, just family and close friends, held at the beach where Shiwu had given Amara the phoenix necklace. Minseo cried through the entire ceremony, her initial resistance long since transformed into fierce maternal protection of the daughter-in-law who'd saved her son. Amara wore a dress that blended traditional Korean and American elements, designed by a student from her culinary program who'd discovered a passion for fashion. Shiwu wore a suit his father would have approved of, his neck tattoo visible above the collar. A statement that he wasn't hiding who he was or where he'd come from. I, Yun Shiwu, take you, Amara Chen, to be my wife, he said, voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. I promise to run toward you when things get hard, the way you ran toward me when I was trapped. I promise to build a life worth the risk you took. I promise to love you with the same fierce certainty you showed when you refused to leave anyone behind. Amara's vows were simpler. I, Amara Chen, take you, Yun Shiwu, to be my husband. I promise to see you, always, not just the position or the power, but the man underneath. I promise to be your partner in building something better. And I promise that no matter what fires we face them together. When they kissed as husband and wife, the small crowd erupted in cheers. Daijung whistled loudly. Bria wiped her eyes. Minseo smiled through tears, and somewhere in the distance, smoke rose from a bonfire, a reminder of where they'd started and how far they'd come. At the reception, Held at the foundation headquarters they'd built together, Shiwu pulled Amara aside. I have something to tell you. If it's bad news on our wedding day, I'm going to be very upset. It's good news. The Yoon family is officially out of illegal operations. Everything, every business, every revenue stream is legitimate as of today. His smile was triumphant. I'm clean, Amara. Finally, completely clean. Shoo-woo! Amara's voice broke. That's incredible. How did you? Slowly, carefully, by reinvesting everything into legal ventures and negotiating buyouts with other families. He cupped her face. It took 2 years, but I did it because I wanted to give you a husband you don't have to make excuses for, a life without looking over our shoulders. I would have loved you either way. I know, but I needed to love myself, to be someone my father would have been proud of and my children can admire. His hand drifted to her stomach, eyes questioning. Someday? Someday soon. Amara covered his hand with hers. But Shiwu, you know my students come first. The foundation, the programs. I know, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We'll figure it out together. Daycare at the foundation, flexible schedules, whatever we need. He kissed her softly. I just want a future with you, however that looks. They danced then, surrounded by people who'd become family. Minseo teaching Amara's mother Korean phrases, Daejung flirting with Bria, students and former enemies and new friends all celebrating together. And Amara thought about the miracle of it all, how one moment of courage had changed everything. What are you thinking? Shiwu asked, spinning her gently. That I almost didn't go into that building. For a second, I stood outside and thought about turning back. Amara met his eyes. What if I had? What if I'd let fear win? Then someone else would have tried to save us, or we'd have died, or I'd have found another way out and spent the rest of my life wondering about the beautiful waitress who served me coffee every morning. Shiwu pulled her closer. But you didn't turn back. You ran toward the fire, and everything else, everything good in my life flows from that moment. No pressure. No pressure, he agreed, laughing. Just gratitude and love, and the promise that I'll spend the rest of my life being worthy of what you did. You already are. Amara kissed him, not caring who was watching. You're exactly who you need to be. My husband, my partner, my phoenix rising from ashes. The party continued long into the night, but eventually Shuriwu and Amara slipped away, driving to their new home, not the penthouse downtown, but a house in the hills with a garden and room to grow. They stood on the balcony watching the city lights below, and Amara felt peace settle over her like a blanket. Happy? Shiwu asked, arms around her waist. Deliriously. You? More than I ever thought possible. He turned her to face him. Thank you for being brave enough to save me, and patient enough to let me save myself. Thank you for being worth the risk. Amara smiled up at him. For building this life with me. For choosing love over fear. They kissed under the stars, two people who'd found each other in the worst moment of their lives and built something beautiful from the flames. A waitress and a reformed criminal, a hero and a man learning to be better. Two halves of an impossible whole. And somewhere in the city below, in the cafe where they'd first met, a new waitress served coffee to a new customer. Lives intersecting in small ways that could become everything. The world turning, always turning, full of moments that changed everything, and people brave enough to run toward fire instead of away from it. Because that's what love was, Amara had learned. Not the absence of fear, but the decision to be brave anyway. To run toward instead of away. To build instead of hide. To choose hope over safety, connection over protection, life over mere survival. I love you, Shiwu whispered against her lips. I love you too. Always. And in the morning they would wake together in their new home, would build the foundation into something that changed lives, would face challenges and celebrate victories, would grow a family and a legacy that honored both their pasts while reaching toward better futures. But tonight they just held each other. The Mafia boss who'd found redemption and the waitress who'd found her courage. Two phoenixes rising from ashes, wings spread wide, ready to fly. 5 years later, Amara stood in the new wing of the foundation, the culinary school that had just graduated its 100th student. Her daughter, 3-year-old Seo Yun, clung to her leg, watching wide-eyed as Shiwu cut the ribbon with ceremonial scissors. Mama, why is Daddy cutting the pretty ribbon? Seo-yun asked in a mix of English and Korean. Because Daddy helped build this place, and sometimes we celebrate new beginnings by cutting ribbons. Can I cut a ribbon? Someday, baby, when you build something worth celebrating. Shiwoo finished his speech, talking about second chances and the power of education, and found his way back to them. He scooped Seo-yun up, earning delighted giggles, then kissed Amara softly. You did it, he said. From 8 students in a borrowed kitchen to this. I'm so damn proud of you. We did it. Together. Amara leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of family and future. None of this happens without that night, without the fire. Best, worst night of my life. Same. She looked up at him, this man who'd transformed from dangerous criminal to devoted husband and father. Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't run in? Every day. And every day I'm grateful you did. Shiwoo kissed her forehead. You saved me in every way a person can be saved, Amara. Not just from fire, but from the life I was living, from becoming someone I'd hate. You saved me too, from playing it safe, from letting fear make all my decisions. Seo-yun squirmed between them. Mama, Daddy, can we get ice cream now? They laughed, the moment of reflection broken by the demands of parenthood. Yes, baby, Amara said. Let's get ice cream. As they walked out of the foundation, hand in hand with their daughter between them, Amara caught sight of the Phoenix mural that now adorned the entrance. A reminder of where they'd started, of rising from ashes, of the courage it takes to run toward fire instead of away from it. Thank you, Shiwoo said quietly as they reached the car. For what? For every day, for this life, for running into that building and refusing to let me die. Amara squeezed his hand. Thank you for being worth saving, for building something beautiful from the flames. For loving me like I'm your whole world? You are. You and Seo-yun. My whole world, right here. They drove off into the afternoon sun, a family forged in fire and tempered by love. The Mafia boss turned philanthropist, the waitress turned educator, and the daughter who would grow up knowing that courage and love could transform anything. And somewhere in the city, in a small cafe, a new customer walked in, and a new waitress looked up, and the world spun on, full of infinite possibilities and moments that could change everything. Because that's the thing about fire, Amara had learned. It destroys, yes, but it also purifies, transforms, creates space for new growth. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to run toward it instead of away, you find everything you never knew you needed, rising from ashes. Together, always together.